Hello there, welcome to saberduelgaming, where we always take the high ground. As WrestleMania season continues to plow along, we keep it coming with our wrestling themed content. This year we have seen tons of 2K24, so how does it stand up? Welcome to our retro review of WWE2K24. Let's be honest, with these games, by now you know what to expect. This is an annual installment with a number of additions and changes, but overall the same premise. We will see numerous different game types, numerous different wrestlers, and numerous new match types. But overall, the basic idea of the game and gameplay remains the same. As always, there are a variety of different game modes for you to enjoy. This year we have the Showcase mode, which focuses on WrestleMania, and it does exactly what you'd expect. It works its way through a number of the biggest WrestleMania matches of all time, mostly focusing on wrestlers WWE still has the rights to, and allows you to replay those matches. This goes all the way up to, I believe, WrestleMania 39, where Cody Rhodes fails to complete the story by losing to Roman Reigns. Every time you play one of these matches, win the fight, meet a load of objectives that are identified, you will unlock new wrestlers, new looks, new arenas, and a bunch of other content. It's what we would expect. It's a great deal of fun overall, and follows the same pattern as all the other ones had. You work your way through, you unlock your stuff, and that's about it. We of course have my GM mode again, and you know this is the series that I played the most this year. Check out just how many live streams I've done on this. This time around this has been increased. For a start, we have ECW as a brand now for the first time. But there's been a bit of an expansion to it, which increases its longevity. As you're playing through, you can't just use all match types or unlock new arenas right away. You have to save up money for them. You have to slowly unlock them as options. We have two new standout match types in this game as well. The first being the ambulance match, where the winner is the first person to weaken their opponent to the point they can throw them into the ambulance and close the door. And the other is the return of the casket match. This follows pretty much a similar premise to the ambulance one. You've got to beat them down until you can actually get them inside the casket. Both of these game types are kind of fun as a novelty initially, but they're also both game types that go on for a very long time. You have to be beating down your opponent for ages and eventually give yourself a numb finger repeatedly button mashing to be able to close that lid. My Rise also makes a return, and we have a different story for whether you're playing as a male or female wrestler. I actually completed My Rise as a female wrestler. I didn't actually attempt it as a male, so I can't really comment on that, but I actually quite enjoyed the story mode in this. The general premise of it remained the same, and there was elements of it which became a bit tedious, but what I did like was there was basically 3 key story arcs which took your character in completely different directions, and you could work through all 3. My all-time favourite was the Manifestation storyline, where your character becomes effectively possessed by some sort of evil entity that is seemingly the same entity that's responsible for Demon Finn Balor, The Undertaker, Kane, and all these other demonic gimmicks we've ever seen in WWE. I don't think that's canon though. You have all your other game modes as well, including the My Faction and the Universe mode. I'll be honest though, I've not really played those, so I ain't gonna comment on them. But all your standard game modes are in there, and there's been a bunch of tweaks and changes to each of them, but realistically, not a lot's changed. The game still includes tons of customizable content. You can build your own arena, create your own wrestlers, you can create your own match type to a finite degree. Building your own arena is particularly fun. The arenas within wrestling nowadays are quite generic, but back in the day, they were all very much unique and specified. I did my own sort of a live stream where I made my own version of WrestleMania called YouTube Mania, and gave it a bloodline theme. And the arena I was able to build for this was fantastic. I was so impressed with it. So the customization is top notch. On top of the 2 new match types I mentioned earlier, all your old favourites here: Elimination Chambers, Hell in a Cells, TLC, pretty much everything you could want. But none of them have really changed. I don't think any particularly new animations have been added. There's no new OMG type moments. It's all pretty much the same as we had before. And the same could be said about the controls and most other things too. That's one of the slight downfalls of this game. Everything it does well. It's pretty much perfect, but it hasn't really added anything especially exciting. In fact, there's whole elements of things that you used to be able to do in matches in previous games that at some point down the line were taken out, and as of yet haven't been added back in. The visuals still look really good, especially for the entrances. I absolutely love how some of these look, but are they actually a step up from the previous games? I don't really feel like, as we've progressed into another next-gen console, the graphics, audio, or any other aspect of it have really moved up a generation in line with the consoles. Everything about it screams what you liked in the last one, with an update and a few new game modes, but that's about it. And I suppose in fairness, that's what we come to expect from most of these sports titles. It's really hard to criticise them for it as long as we keep buying them, and every other sports title does pretty much the same thing. I know doing this review in the format of a retro review like some of my other ones is a bit strange. This game only came out a solid year ago, but let's still ask the question, how was the game actually received when it first came out? Well, I can answer that one for you very quickly. 8 out of 10. Like, almost unanimously across the board. From GameSpot to IGN and a bunch of others. There was a standout 78% score that I saw there, and I also saw an 8.5 out of 10, but everything else, it just got an 8 out of 10, which really struck me as quite surprising. I can't disagree with that as a rating though. If you're judging it as its own game, as opposed to, oh, but has it actually improved something? Yeah, it probably does deserve that. There's a whole bunch of different game modes you can play, match types you can have. You could play the game for a full year without actually playing certain match types because there's enough within the types you like. If you like My Rise mode, you can replay it multiple times, and there's 2 of them. If you like My GM mode, you can keep playing that all the way through the year, or redo it. You can play it against friends. So yeah, there's plenty to keep it going. Showcase mode, even after it's finished, there's an additional sort of WrestleMania Battle Royal to keep you going. And then of course, there's the DLC, such as the Dudley Boys, and a later one that was released for Bray Wyatt. Basically, there's a batch of DLC packs. This, however, is temperamental for me. Some of them were really cool, some of them were really poor, but the fact that we had to pay for them was just annoying as hell. You've got the wrestlers, just stick them in the damn game. The only one I didn't mind was this one, the Bray Wyatt Fiend DLC. This was added much later on and made use of a look and a design that was made for Bray Wyatt before he passed away. And as I understand it, a lot of the money from this DLC did go to support his family, so I've got no problem at all with that one. But overall, I kind of would say I agreed with that rough 8 out of 10 score. But what about now? Well, I can't exactly say modern scrutiny, can I? I was still playing this game only a few weeks ago. For the first time ever though, what I might do is use the fact that I've been playing WWE2K24 as a comparison. And with that as a comparison, I probably rate this one better. 2K25 in some ways has tried to be fancy and ended up taking steps back, or bringing in new game mechanics that don't necessarily work. As it stands, I would still rank this one as one of the better 2K games, WWE 2K games that is. It still has its weaknesses. As I say, the graphics haven't massively improved, but I don't think they necessarily need to. The audio is still great. The gameplay is still really good in this one. However, there are issues that have been issues all along that they just haven't done anything with. The fact that the Hell in a Cell matches are so limited as to what you can do around the side of the cell. The elimination chambers feel like we should have much more scope to do damage within those chambers. Many of the issues I have with this game are minor gripes, but they're minor gripes that are so easily solved that every wrestling gaming fan would agree with. Being made to do a specific set move when jumping off the ladder instead of your actual wrestler's move is just inexcusable. Lots of these things are minor, but they still stand out. However, between the Showcase mode, the My GM mode and the My Rise mode, there was more than enough for me to enjoy, and that was before I factor in just having my wrestling matches. There's so much to do, so much to enjoy. The only reason we can find issues is because these are annual releases, and every time we will cherry pick the changes that we like and don't like and focus on those. In my opinion, these games would work so much better if it was just one base game with annual updates or seasons instead. The fact that I have to pay to unlock characters that I already owned in the previous game is kind of a buzzkill, but the additional content, the additional storylines for My Rise, for the Showcase mode, and the tweaks and adaptations to My GM make it all worthwhile. So, how do we score this game? Well, as with all of these annual sports games, it's really hard to look at them independently without comparing to the previous ones. But if I do look at this as a standalone game, it's really good. It's got a lot of content, it's got a lot to enjoy. Yes, a lot of that was in the previous one and hasn't really evolved, but still, looking at it independently, I think it's fair to give it an 8 out of 10. There are a few things that could certainly improve, especially given where we are with these games now. But overall, I still think an 8 out of 10 is a damn fair result. But what do you think? Comment below and let me know. And until next time, take the high ground.